that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine.
Well, hello everybody. It is 4 a.m. in the morning for me, because that's the most quiet it is in the house. And today, well, at least when you're watching this, it is later, but when I'm recording this, it's Valentine's Day. And I'm talking about a book that I rather quite enjoyed, might even say loved, even. With Path to Ascendency 4. Saying 4 is a bit misleading. It's not a direct sequel or anything, but it does take place after the first 3 Path to Ascendency books, with Path to Ascendency 4, Forge of the High Mage, which originally was going to be called the Gestal, but was changed. Non-spoiler-wise, what can I give you? Well, Emperor Caliban, as he is now emperor of a very small empire, and Dancer, and Dassam, and Teshrin, and Dujek very recently made One Arm, Belladon, Nightchill, who else? Well, I'll save some stuff for spoilers, but they all head out to the Falar Islands, which is a place we've heard about in the Book of the Fallen, but we've never explicitly seen. In fact, we've met several characters in the Malazan Book of the Fallen that are from this place, but we have never gone here. So this is a first for the series, which again is Essamont expanding the world, expanding the universe, giving us more insight and more grounds to cover in terms of this world. And with this, we have a culture that worships Mael, the god of the sea. But they are rather into ritualistic sacrifice. Also, who is one of the big religious leaders of this society? None other than Malik Rel. So everything coalesces here. There's also some stuff with some ancient prototype, Moonspawn type floating cities. Moonspawn is actually right now residing, in the sky, right? Whereas the city in this story literally only kind of hovers, cannot go that far up. So, and some new characters that are pretty cool, from a character named Gianna, who is a high priestess of this religious order, to even the Jaghut and other characters. It's a fun time, and again, the prose and everything, I think Essamont has significantly improved over like Knight of Knives, and if you read that to this, it's night and day, I think. Essamont has only continued to improve as a writer, but on top of that, it's just it is consistently really, really, really fun, and it's a story that we didn't necessarily need, but it explains some stuff. I mean, we are seeing the expansion of an empire here. I mean, they got Malaz City in the last book, but that's not enough. You gotta take over everything. I mean, by the time we get to Book of the Fallen, they are in control of everything. So, it's also just cool to see a new setting that we've never seen before, and to get some new insights on some particular favorites. Also, what you'll notice as you get through this book is factions, divisions, denominations, if you will. Within the religious order of the Falaran society, you have different ideologies, different beliefs about how things should go. Maybe even their god doesn't agree with them. But, flip side of the Malazan Empire, Emperor, Caliban, and Dancer are usually on the same page. But we've already established Caliban would just do stuff on his own. He not really explain himself to Dancer. At the same time, Dassam is continuing to be his cool self, and people are flocking to that. People are being sucked in by that, even without him really trying. And so, the worship, I guess you'll say, or the revering of this man begins to sow in these books, or in this book in particular, as people start to carry weight amongst what he says more so than maybe even the Emperor. We see the charisma of Dujek One Arm, and how everyone seems to like him, no matter what. We even see a friendship forming between some of the characters. But we also have Shirley, and we meet a familiar character in this book. Shirley has her own agenda. Kelvin and Dancer have theirs. So already now there's a bit of division even within the Empire, which hasn't formed yet completely. So there's this constant pull and tug of tension and sort of factions within factions. Also, I mean, this is also dealt with in Stonewielder, but I feel Essamont does a rather nuanced job of showing the complexities of faith. It is definitely easy to just say religion is evil, which again I still think this story is ultimately doing. It's religion is evil, spirituality is okay. I kind of is what I'm getting from it. I could be wrong in interpreting that, but there are certain things in this book where the god has a certain will, and the followers don't really follow it. But then it's also Malazan, so we know that gods are also influenced by their worshippers. It's a give and take, if you will. So how their worshippers act is kind of what will form the deity. So there's that too. But it's quite interesting exploration, getting to see more of Malik Rel, getting to see him play his kind of political chess games that he likes to play is all fascinating stuff. And this story only came out last year in 2024, so pretty fresh. I don't want to say too much beyond that. We do have some Crimson Guard members, which is also really cool, along with the Jack, who, funny enough, they played such a big role in The God Is Not Willing. It kind of is fitting that they be here too. And what else can I say? Some nice cameos and some fantastic new characters. But I think without spoilers, that's pretty much all I'll say. But I do think absolutely this book is worth your time. I think it's worth checking out. I'm getting into spoilers now. If you don't want that, time to go. Also, this is the final Malazan review that I will have until a new story comes out, which is quite sad. I'll just tell you now, if you are interested, moving forward there will be Wheel of Time discussions, there will be The Way of Edam discussions by Philip Chase. More Star Trek Enterprise relaunch novels, and of course in the Sunday slot we still have Elric, Conan, and other sci-fi and fantasy stories. So that's pretty much the TBR for the rest of 2025, and I hope you'll stick around to see it. And with that little plug-in, and if you leave after this, I get it. I mean, I will be doing a reread of Malazan once at least Walk in Shadows comes out. That's the plan. I don't need all the sequels finished, but I need at least Erickson's prequel finished before I'll be willing to dive back into the entirety of Book of the Fallen. But it will be a bit more. It will be more of a podcast format. I'm hoping for, with maybe some other people. But also, I plan on going chapter by chapter, and if I don't go stir crazy, it's gonna be too hard. But chronological order, which means putting in some prologues before any actual book series. So that'll be fun, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, so Malazan content still to come, but it probably won't be for a while. Probably not for the rest of this year. But I hope you'll stick around and watch me talk about other sci-fi and fantasy things. Thank you. Alright, spoilers. If you don't want that, you have your warning. So you can go now. Okay? Cool. The Malazan Empire is consolidating their power, but the only way to keep it is to expand it. We get to see Belladon as we switch over to the Falaran continent. We get to the city of Kabil, which is the center of faith of Male, which, in case you're watching this and haven't watched or haven't read Book of the Fallen, I won't say anything more on the topic of Male other than he appears in several books of the Malazan Empire, or the Book of the Fallen. Shortly after joining the Crimson Guard, Gregor Bluenth is dubbed Blues. Hold on. We meet the priests of Gestal. Also on the journey over, Teshrin and Duzhek have a nice little chat. As I said, you get to see this kind of friendship bonding between them, which again, after you finish all the Esselman books, it's impossible to just hate Teshrin. We meet Gianna, who prays that Male would be forgotten, which that prayer may be answered. We also meet Karsten, who's an historian, though he does mention an up-and-coming, pretty great guy, Dukare, who's a soldier, but a pretty decent historian. Also, this is a prequel after all. We see Andis Salon, not Andamander yet, still going by Andamandris, in Moonspawn. It begins with Andis Salon being woken up due to the stuff with the Kachin Shamel over on the Falaran continent, and the stuff that's going on with the Talana Mass as of Book 3, so that's why he wakes up. Later on, due to events in the book, so will Andamandris. A bunch of stuff happens. I didn't write down everything, but there is a pretty big battle that happens. Or I don't know if it's a battle. No. like Fruit Ninja, a Crimson Guard tower gets like sliced in half by a god. It seems like. But the more interesting thing here is that after that happens, because remember, we get these almost legends, tales of Kelvin and Dancer, how they made an empire, right? But here, and this is on, Kelvin's request, of course, there's a false history written, even though they had nothing to do with it, about the Malazans defeating that Crimson Guard tower. How mighty and majestic Kelvin was. And I just realized, historians for Kelvin serve the same purpose as Irulan in Dune. The Andamandris awakes. One thing I really love, and I am stealing this from A.P. Canavan, so I don't want to claim to be an original thinker. I mean, I did have these thoughts, but since I didn't say them first, because I'm late to the party on these Malazan videos, I'm going to just give credit where credit's due, because I do watch these people religiously and when it comes to the Malazan content. But A.P. Canavan said, and I feel this too, there's a very gothic feel to Moonspawn, very atmospheric, very dark, very alien, which makes sense because Moonspawn is not only, it hasn't been properly, this isn't Gardens of the Moon yet, right? We learn more about it in Gardens of the Moon and in Memories of Ice. we don't. This is before all that. And Amanda Rake starts off kind of seeming like he's going to be the Darth Vader of the series, but very quickly he's humanized by book 3. We learn so much more about him, Toll the Hounds and all of the Carconis trilogy. We see him. He is not alien, but in this story he is a bit alien. He's a bit closed off. He's a bit to the chest. But even the whole setting and atmosphere of this place is just very, I don't want to say dreary, but it feels unknown, like we don't understand this place. I mean, I do, I have the context, but if you were reading this for some reason in chronological order, because you just decided to do it that way, this still leaves everything rather mysterious in terms of what it is, But other than the fact that it's a more advanced version of the Change Mal, I guess you have that spoiled regardless. But I really liked how the scene's portrayed. It's something that Philip Chase and A.P. Canavan have said, but I think it's good to reiterate that it is the one thing that Essamon excels in is atmosphere. Next big cameo, we have Topper. And then he's just in the book, and I thought I'd mention it. We also see how cunning Malik Rel really is, He may be a little shite, but he is quite good at doing what he wants. Because he's very clearly, and to me, again, big misstep on Halo 3. Now that's a deep cut. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't care. In those games, there's also a religious sort of order known as the Covenant. And in Halo 2, the main guy, Truth, is one of the prophets, right? And the way he talks, and the way he maneuvers, it feels like he doesn't believe in the religion whatsoever. It is only a means of power for him. Halo 3 kind of retcons that to he drinks his own Kool-Aid, I guess. And it doesn't matter. Point being, Halo 2 was peak perfection. Look up Truth, Halo 2. You'll see what I mean. But the point is, Malik Rel very much reminds me of that Halo 2 performance. And I love, despite him being a bad person, how well he does at establishing himself. First with this religious order, and later on in the Malazan Empire. We meet Singer, who's a Jagat, and he kind of, I didn't write their names down, but he basically kidnaps two pirate people and basically makes them work for him. But he's upset. He's an angry boy. He wants some revenge, so he's trying to use this precursor moonspawn sort of artifact to cause some damage. There's a part where Gianna's meant to be sacrificed. Instead of taking that, she jumps off to the cliff and falls into the water, but she doesn't die. She's saved by none other than Male himself. You know what? We're in spoiler sections. I can say this. Male / Bug, as he so eloquently puts it when asked, who is he in this particular section? And he says, nothing, a bug, less than nothing, don't mind me. I'm paraphrasing, but it's like that. And while Gianna doesn't believe in the religion, she does love the sea. Which the sea is male. So in a sense, while she may not agree with this organized religion, she very much loves the deity. Again, this is what I'm talking about, where kind of the religious stuff comes in. Now look, I get it. Religion has caused problems. But again, you came to my channel, so I'm not going to be cookie cutter, say the same things that other people have said. I'm my own person. I'm trying to bring my own unique perspective. I mean, it's not unique. Everybody's the same. As Ecclesiastes of the Old Testament will tell you, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that has been done, will be done, has been thought. Nobody's original. as much as they may think they are. We're all different iterations of the same thing. But what I do think is interesting about this is how it's portrayed. I do think a lot of evil has been done in the name of religion. But I think so many people, when they critique religion, what they're really critiquing is people. And people are flawed, people are broken, and that's fair and valid and justified. So many horrors have been enacted by religion, but you must also remember, if you're going to intellectually judge something, you must judge it based on its own merits. So cut out all the middlemen, cut out all the people. What does it actually teach? Right? So if a Christian, we'll just use Christian because as an example, if a Christian decides to go and butcher people, just a serial killer, right? What does their holy text say? Does it say to go do that? I think you can assert no. In which case, they can call themselves whatever they want, but they aren't practicing what it actually taught. And, you know, I understand that the male priesthood, they actually, ritual sacrifice is a common occurrence. But you notice, if you look at the Old Testament of the Bible, you don't really have that with people ever, right? You have lambs and animals that are used as ritualistic sacrifices, yes. But the only example we have of a human sacrifice is with Jacob and Isaac, right? Or Abraham and Isaac, my apologies. But even with that, I think it's pretty well could be argued in the text that the God of the Bible never intended for Isaac to actually be sacrificed, just to see if his follower would be willing to go that far in his name, but not that he actually wanted to do that. So, I think Christianity is unique in that way, because many pagan religions of the past would ritually sacrifice. And even religions around the same time as the Jewish religion back then still practiced human sacrifice. I mean, look at the Canaanites. With the Canaanites, you had, people always go, oh, how could the Jews kill all the Canaanites? Which they didn't, because it later says in the Bible to not, marry with them. How can you marry them if they're all dead? So clearly they're not all dead. But the Canaanites, they would get newborn babies. Male was this kind of goat-like looking god, right? And he'd have a bowl. That statue would be like a bowl in his hand. And they'd place the baby on there. They'd start a fire right underneath the bowl. And while it's heating up and heating up, there'd be people dancing, there'd be people singing, there'd be people doing the dirty tango, all while this baby melts to death. Right? So, no matter how barbaric the Christian, Jewish religion may have seemed in the Old Testament to you, what I do think is unique about it is they didn't do human sacrifice. I mean, that's progress, if you ask me. But if you look at this story, we very much have that as a norm here, which is very concerning, because that is something that can happen with really anyone. But again, I think it's a matter of corrupting a religion more so than what the religion taught, or more so corrupting male. Because every example we have of male/bug is a kind person who seems to have the best interests of humanity at heart. I mean, even if you go back to the Carconis trilogy, we didn't get much of him, but he didn't seem very bloodthirsty. So, but maybe he will be in Walk in Shadow. I don't know. He didn't play a very big part in the Carconis duology we have so far, so I doubt he'll play a big part in the third part. But there might be a section dedicated to him. I don't know. But I think it's interesting to note that. Well, I appreciate the nuance and everything. It is still a thing of most people's problems with religion are the institutions, right? More so than the actual faith. But I definitely think many people write off faith based on prior bad experiences instead of it being completely logically incoherent, I'd say. But it was a super fascinating part of the book. Certainly made me think a lot, which I appreciate. And I don't ever want to be in a bubble. I don't ever want to be stuck in my way. I want to make sure I'm always challenged on my beliefs, and so I appreciate books like this. Is what I'm trying to say. And most people are going to read this book aren't religious, and they're not going to really care. Just another bad religion in fantasy or sci-fi or whatever, right? I just think it's important to get some perspective. And in the same way, like when we talked with the God is Not Willing, or Reaper's, was it Reaper's Gale or no, Total Hounds, whatever book it was at Ictovian, and we dealt with the themes of redemption, and that's a whole other concept in itself. That's dealing with my religion and my thoughts on that. But even like me, right? Like, do I deserve redemption? I mean, there's stuff that I used to put out on YouTube that I am not proud of, and I've thought about deleting it. But then, at like the same time, I mean, we're still in a culture where, like, well, if you did something bad once, like, that's your whole life. That's who you are, right? I can't take away the past, but I think some of the videos I made back in the day, I was like 16, a stupid teenager. I'm so much different from where I was. I don't know if I'm better. I hope so. I try to be every day. You know, I try to be, and you know, I'm not the greatest person, but I've definitely think I'm better than when I was at 16. When I was trying to be edgy and annoying. But like I said, there's reasons. I have hundreds of videos on this channel, and there's some other channels I'm not going to directly name because I don't want to. But you may find it, and that's okay. And that was me in the past, and I hate myself then. I've tried watching them, and it pisses me off. But I also feel like it's disingenuous and lazy to delete things to try to make yourself like look better. Like, no, that was me. It's not me now. I think that's important to remember with that. So to take this back, even if Male was a bloodthirsty god at one point, I forgive him because I know who my boy is by the Book of the Fallen, and I love that guy. But yeah, I really enjoyed the themes of that here, and it actually, this book more than anything made me super excited to read the Prince of Nothing story by Baker, because that book's gonna challenge me too, and I'm really excited to get into that. That'll be a while though. I gotta get through real time and everything, but it's definitely on the TBR. That being said, let's move on from this topic. CL versus Topper. That was pretty cool. However, Dancer stops the fight, and even here, Topper is loyal to Shirley, not to Dancer. And when Dancer tells him to stop, he says, I don't think Shirley will like that. Dancer's like, I think Shirley can manage, but I don't think the Emperor will be happy with you if you do this. And so Topper relents, rather, annoyed. But again, here, we have people that are completely and utterly loyal to Shirley already. They don't even have a full empire yet. We already see these divisions, whether it be in religious, order, where people are manipulating things to get their way and have their own agendas and perspectives, but also within this kind of more secular empire. They also have their factions. What also is interesting is, I think, Philip Chase and A.P. Canavan said this about the first 3 books. I don't know if I felt that as much, but really here I really did see, while the religious institution may be probably objectively evil in this story, and I'm kind of rooting for the Malazans to defeat them, at the same time, what about all the normal people on the day-to-day that live in this place, as their whole way of life is usurped because the Malazan Empire takes over it, right? And so we kind of see, 2 sides of the same thing, where, we got the Crimson Guard on this one corner, and they're kind of there. We got, the Falaran place, and then we have all the Malazans, and they're kind of just, nobody's really a hero here. But it definitely makes the Empire look a bit more antagonistic, villainous. I mean, they already kind of were in Book of the Fallen, but there's so many characters we like that are on the Malazan team that it's kind of hard to like completely drop them all, you know. Also, important for Guardians of the Moon, but Nightchill and Belladonna meet up. So that's, yeah. And the semi-Crimson Guard and Malazan kind of team up here to defeat a bigger threat with the Change Mel stuff. Dassam admits that it's probably good that they're joining forces to stop this greater threat, because he speculates that this would be a very close fight, which is saying a lot coming from Dassam. There's a mountain called the Scene. Just thought that was interesting. Did Shirley get her name from there? I don't know, but I just wrote it down just because I noticed it. Also, one character I forgot to mention that makes a reappearance in this book is Yalara from the first book of Dancer's Lament. It was cool to see her again, and yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that, but it just adds to Dancer's character a lot. But I wrote some other things, but ultimately I think that's the gist. This book came out like a year ago, so I'd rather not completely go over everything and let you just like kind of enjoy it. I know we're in the Explorer section, but like some people will watch this anyway, and you should have something to just go in fresh with. Because I think it's really worth your time, and it's a really great book. So we're here. I have finally, February 14th, 2025, I have read, as of currently anyway, all Malazan content. I'm sad to see it go. I mean, I'm excited for when I do a reread of everything, and I do it in chronological order as best I know how. But still, it's been quite a journey. But now that I have all this context, I can't wait to go through this again with new eyes and kind of slow down more, not be excited for this ending. I mean, people gave me that advice before, but it's kind of hard to take it when you need to know more. But now I know everything. I have the context. Now I can kind of just leisurely pace my way through. But, you know, I spent almost a full year on this, so I'm definitely taking a break, and I got another big series online with Wheel Time, so it'll be a while before we get back here, but, you know, I might do some character topical videos, really depends. But I really enjoyed going through all of these books, from Essamont, Erickson. Obviously I prefer Erickson. It's hard not to, but next to the Bible, these books have changed my life. I adore this setting, I adore this universe, and I'm so glad that people came on this journey with me, that people subscribe to see me talk about it, you know. It's been a joy, and I really fell in love with this world, and I appreciate you all for watching. And I hope you'll stick around for other stuff. I get it if you don't, right? Like, some people came here for Star Wars, and I'm not really doing that much Star Wars anymore besides my podcast. Some people came here, I don't know what else people, I guess that's it. And then Malazan, that'd be Malazan, that's it for people who showed up. But I just want to say I appreciate you, is the gist of that. And I hope you'll stick around for other projects in the works. And till next time, well, I guess to round it all out, whether it be a friend, an enemy, a frenemy, and everything in between, more than ever, let's have some compassion and love for one another. And with that, may you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, day, night, whenever you're watching this. Poop if you're on the toilet. And have yourself a wonderful rest of the year, wonderful rest of the month, wonderful rest of the day, and keep being awesome. And I hope you all stick around. And until next time,